Welcome back to the Know Your Power podcast. I am your host, Kendall Aaliyah.
And I'm Julia Renee.
That felt like I almost forgot our intro. And it's only been a week.
I know, because usually we film on Wednesdays and today we're filming on Friday because Kendall had a migraine.
I was literally out of commission Wednesday. So I woke up the first time, really bad migraine. I had a headache the night before, but usually if I sleep it off, I'm fine the next morning. So that's what I was hoping for. I woke up with such a bad migraine and a text from Chloe about the YouTube didn't upload right. So I have one eye half open. I was dying. I go and upload it. I lay back down. I was I really feel like I can't film. There's no way I could have held a conversation. So then I told you, you're that's fine. I was yes. And I went back to sleep. I'm not kidding. That was at 8 or 9, probably 8 a.m. I woke up again at 1 p.m.
Oh my God.
And I felt better, which is good. But I think I just needed rest. But I
feel if you would have just gotten up, you would have been sick. You would have gotten sick. And it would have been a lot longer. There's sometimes where your body's just saying
rest, please.
Literally, we're going to force you to have debilitating circumstances to where you just you can't.
Yeah.
And then you just take a night.
Yeah.
And you feel better.
Everything's better.
Take a little night.
I think I just don't sleep a lot or enough regularly. So yeah, I was definitely a force hey, you need to rest. Yeah. Anyway, today we are doing a Q&A. Woo.
Yay. Kendall loves
We had
Q&As.
You guys. I love Q&A. Do you not?
I don't.
Are you indifferent?
I don't not like them.
I love answering questions.
I guess I always assume I'm does anybody care? You know,
I just they think asked, that. But yeah, so
we got a lot of questions, and it was hard to pick out which ones that I felt would be the most value to all of our listeners. We also had a lot that were multiples of each other, and some of them we got a lot of bodybuilding ones.
Yeah.
And we'll go over that when we get to it. But yeah. Also, before we get into that, the merch launch went so well,
yes, guys. Thank you so much. I don't even know the numbers. I just heard what happened day one, and it was so exciting.
I had no expectations for how well it was going to go. I was there's probably going to be nobody that cares. And I was wait, a lot of people care.
It was so cute.
So amazing. I can't wait for you guys to get your stuff
Oh my gosh,
in.
I think I got my mug in yesterday. Yeah. I haven't picked it up yet, but it's in.
There's certain items that come a lot quicker than others. The mugs are a little bit quicker. I think the hats and the pump covers take a little bit, especially when it's our first big order. And I'm I can imagine that all these people ordered it at one time. So I'm curious to see how fast they will come. I'm literally watching everything.
I'm excited for chapter 2 of the merch.
Kendall and I are already planning chapter 2. I had a meeting with our new KYP, which is Know Your Power. KYP designer, which is my good friend Liv.
They know Liv.
Yeah, she designed my Know Your Power journal that's linked in the description.
I didn't know that she designed
did that.
The whole thing. Okay, cool.
Yeah, she designed that. She was her job for a lot of years was creating websites, all of those things. She's so good at doing that.
Her website's really pretty, so it makes sense.
Oh yeah, and I guess I just now she's moved into coaching women, life coaching and stuff. So I was she probably just doesn't do that anymore. And she's told me, well, I love your brand and I want to be a part of it. And I was really? She's yeah, I would love to help design merch and stuff for you. So literally you're getting ready to see our whole podcast, be completely rebranded.
We have a photo shoot tomorrow.
We have fall merch coming in. We also did a little poll too of what you guys wanted to see, and we added some of those things to the list. So I'm excited.
That's so cool. It's a cool new chapter of the pod, which is crazy. I don't know. I was thinking about it, and we've been filming for well over a year now, year and a half. And that went by so fast. I feel we started yesterday.
I know. Well, and just how many things we first started holding our microphone.
Yeah, in a bed.
And sitting very uncomfortably.
And look at us now, professionals.
Yeah, we're leveling up, guys, and it's all because of you and y'all's support and just giving us a space to do what we love. So yeah, I won't go on about that.
Sorry, last thing, and then we'll get into Q&A. Just to catch up, I edited my first YouTube video, and I'm finally posting it this weekend.
Yay!
Which is exciting.
I forgot
so it'll already be out for those watching this. Yeah. But YouTube terrifies me. So if you want to go show me any support over there,
go show Kendall some love so she can continue to post.
Yeah. It's intimidating but exciting, and I'm glad I'm finally doing it.
Yes. Anyone listening is like, finally.
Oh my God, I got another spam call.
Tell them
Do
to
not
leave
disturb,
us alone.
please. Anyway, going into the actual Q&A
Yes. We got lots of good Q's and we got A's.
We got some A's. The first question is, what are some red flags when choosing a bodybuilding coach?
Ooh.
I have a few.
Yeah.
First off, there's a lot of coaches out there, or like online coaches, that have no credentials and no certifications, no actual formal education. And I feel like that's a red flag in my opinion. Like sometimes experience equals certification, but like having an actual, like I'm a certified nutritionist or personal trainer or things like that, I feel like is something you should absolutely look for, because anyone could be an online coach. Anyone could be like, oh, I'm a bodybuilding coach now, sign up in my bio, right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean they have any sort of credentials to do so.
I also think that too, bodybuilding coaching is so different than lifestyle coaching. Like I get people that reach out to me and they ask me like, do you coach people for competitors? Like, no.
Yeah, same.
Because it's so different than just lifestyle. Like with lifestyle, you like lose a couple of pounds. I mean, not a couple of pounds, but you lose weight and you're not trying to get to that level of leanness that's pushing past your limits. Like regular people on the day-to-day are not going to just do that. Like if they're going to just do that for funsie, like you're a little bit crazy. But I think bodybuilders are a little bit crazy for doing that. But yeah, it's completely different with like the manipulation of water, like the manipulation of salts, like some people protocols for PEDs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like all of that comes into account, and I feel like it's better going and finding a coach that is bodybuilding specific too is definitely a benefit. I'm trying to think of other ones. I've been blessed enough to where my first coach was my partner, and he was incredible and he cared about me so much. And my second coach is amazing and he cares about me, cares about my health.
Yeah.
And I've never had any issues with either of them. So I'm just going off of like things that I've heard.
I think it wasn't even a bad experience, but like my only negative, or a coach I didn't stay with, I think I was with him for like a few weeks and I was like, this is not a fit for me.
Yeah.
And I was young and I didn't do a lot of research, and he went to my gym, and he's pretty well known, but I'm not going to name drop. But he was just like a competitor himself.
Yeah.
And a lot of competitors feel qualified to coach other competitors. And I don't think he was quite at that level. And I was putting a lot more trust in him than I think I should have at the time.
And you were really young. So it's like,
for sure.
You make, and especially too, if you guys are listening to this and like maybe you've had bad experience with coaches before. And you know, when you're young, you're just so excited. Like you just don't care.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, I just want to like see the results and I'm excited.
Tell me to eat no carbs and I'll listen.
I'll be fine. If you don't care about my mental health, that's fine. You know? And for me, I think that that's a really big red flag is if you are, okay, here's one thing, for example, too. I had somebody reach out to me the other day and her coach told her something like, you can't reach your goals without me. And I was like, ooh, that's not nice.
Yeah, that's weird.
Like, in a sense, I guess that makes sense. Wouldn't you hire her if you couldn't reach the goals without her?
Yeah.
But also it's like that way of speaking to a client to me doesn't promote joy.
Yeah, no. I wouldn't want to work with someone
excitement.
That's like,
it's like gaslighty.
Yeah.
Like it reminds me of like a really like a toxic boyfriend or something that's like, you can't do anything without me.
You can't find anyone like me. And it's like, I don't know if I want to.
Yeah, actually, I don't know if I want to. Another big like red flag for me is coaches that completely disregard your mental health and if you struggle with binge eating. So this is also just coming from people DMing me like about their coaches and they're like, is this normal and stuff? And I'm like, well, no, maybe. I'll get a lot of people saying that coaches will just completely disregard their mental health whatsoever. Like if they're telling them they feel like they can't open up, or if they do open up, they just say, suck it up.
Yeah.
There is a level, what I'm going to say is like, just honestly, there is a level of just sucking it up. Like you chose to do this and it's going to be hard. That's kind of just a given and a guarantee with bodybuilding, but there's a certain level where your coach should be empathetic to your mental health, because we don't want that to suffer. Because if that does suffer, everything else in your life starts to suffer too. And then you might not even get to compete.
Yeah.
Or I'll have people reach out to me that they tell their coach that they struggle with binge eating. And honestly, if you haven't struggled with binge eating in the past, it is very hard to relate to somebody that struggles with it, because all they say is like, well, just don't eat it.
Yeah.
It's like, no, but you don't understand.
Yeah.
I had a girl message me about that yesterday, and she's like, my coach doesn't understand. My boyfriend doesn't understand. And to me, they don't have to completely understand where you're at, because they haven't been there, but being empathetic to that and having other solutions, or maybe just being nicer about it.
Yeah.
But I understand there is a level of like, you have to suck it up. You chose this, but then also being okay with your mental health. Like my coach has done a really good job at doing this for me, and this is why I know that he's such an incredible coach. And I talked about this on my past YouTube video, where I was struggling really hard after the Know Your Power retreat, because I pushed myself so hard leading up until that, because I wanted to make sure it was perfect. And I get very emotionally drained when I go into social situations, not because I don't love to be with people, but because I need to recharge my batteries. And I didn't give myself the time to recharge my batteries because I couldn't. Yeah. I was on prep. Like I had to go back the next day, do cardio, be on a deficit, all of those things. And in my check-in, I told my coach, I was like, I'm just feeling really unmotivated to go to the gym. I'm still doing everything, but I want to be open and honest and transparent with you, because that's how we have a good client to coach relationship. And he messages me back. He sends me a Loom video of like him going over his program. He's like, Julia, sometimes pushing harder, because in the check-in I said, I just need to push harder, because that's my response to everything, which is not healthy all the time. And he's like, sometimes it's not about pushing harder. It's actually about pulling back. So he gave me like 4 days off, because I didn't actually have time to take off from after that retreat. And it worked for me. Most coaches would say, suck it up, whatever, we're going to just continue to push harder. And that actually was so much more beneficial to my mental health and my physique in the long run. And I still ended up losing weight.
Exactly. Yeah. Because he had empathy and you had less stress, and you got to go into that next week, like feeling kind of like recovered, rejuvenated, and like ready to kill it again. And I've done that with certain preps too, where I've like pulled out of shows and then I tried to make up for it, beat myself up, whatever. And I've had coaches in the past be like, just take a week off, take a deload week. And every time I do that, like after the stress is lifted and my inflammation goes down, I'm like, oh, I'm in a much better spot than I thought I was. But you don't realize that if the people around you aren't allowing you to like take time to grow.
Yeah. Like there's only so much that you can push before you like overflow.
Yeah.
Something cool that my mom sent me is this, like, it was like a photo of this coffee cup. And it had like in the coffee cup, it had the words like stress, anxiety, like all of these negative feelings, depression. And it says like on the top, like you can only hold so much. And it's so true, because you can get to that point where you just boil over, and we don't want to get to that point. And bodybuilding, sometimes like you have to get to that point because you chose to do this sport. But those are a couple of the red flags I would say, is like a coach that's like not empathetic, like whatsoever. And doesn't really care about your mental health. That's a big one to me. That's always just like, I don't care, just push it.
Yeah. Sometimes coaches are trial and error. Some people love a hard-headed, not empathetic coach. You have to find what works with you. I know in sports growing up, like I always liked the really mean coach. So that never bothered me. But yeah, there is that level in bodybuilding where your mental health is getting involved and your hormonal health and internal health are getting involved. So just make sure you do your research. I think a red flag is if they don't have any sort of like past athlete records of like, here's proof of what I've put on stage. Here's like these other relationships I've built, like stuff like that. I feel like just do your research and you should be at least good to start. And you might not be a good fit.
Yeah, like get on phone calls with coaches, like really talk to them, see if you vibe with them, talk about like what their typical program looks like, what it might look like after your program, because that's very important too. Like if they do reverse diets, like what does a continuation look like? What do they do for, especially with bodybuilding, like do they do anything with your hormonal health? Like do they help you with blood work, stuff like that? It's really important, like all of those things.
It's an investment. in your whole prep life and health life.
Yes.
Question number 2, I think this is a 2-parter, is what was the first step to being comfortable with being yourself on social media? And a different question, but same person, I'm assuming, is how to gain the confidence to start posting.
Yeah. Okay. I thought it said posing for a second.
No, posting.
So
they're related. How to be yourself and how to like get that confidence to not only be yourself but also post the dang thing.
I feel like
I
feel like you need to talk about this because this is like literally what we started talking about when we first got in here.
So I feel like it takes time sometimes, and it can be, like I said, intimidating or scary to like start showing more of yourself online. It's so weird because for me it's been almost like a little like valley hill. I used to show so much of myself on social media.
Yeah.
I posted on YouTube all the time. I posted on Instagram all the time. I was always really deep and honest and raw with like everything I did put out there.
But then you got a bigger
I got followers.
And you stopped.
Yeah. As your following gains, I've heard other people talk about this, so hopefully I'm not the only one, but it's scary to be like, oh, instead of sharing every deepest, darkest secret with 100 people, it's now 100,000 people. And that's terrifying sometimes.
Well, because it's like, I experienced this too, especially like growing a little bit more. Each time I grow more, you have people that are new and they come from like completely different places versus you have like 1,000 followers and almost like all of them completely support you. They've been with you from the beginning. Yeah. And then when you grow into like these new levels of like following numbers, like a bunch of other random people start coming in, which is good. Like that's what you want. You want people to like, you want your numbers to grow, but then that's where other people that don't know you from the beginning start coming in and like
exactly. And it's so easy to like almost assume that they know you, and it's like, oh, but I haven't like shared much about me since that person has like started following me. And I think I was just talking to my boyfriend about this, is like, I think when that really hit for me was a few months ago. I like find mental health jokes funny and like dark humor funny because like those are things I struggle with. So it's like, it helps me to like poke fun at certain things. And I like posted this photo of me like on a floor, like fake crying. And I thought it was hilarious. And all my responses were, oh my God, are you okay? And I'm like, you guys clearly don't know my sense of humor. You don't know my personality. Like that's a problem. Yeah.
Well, so, now you know, you're like, oh, they didn't get it.
Exactly.
You know, because I haven't been sharing
that side
enough about me that they think it's serious, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is no one's fault but my own. So I feel like it's just kind of baby steps. I realized I'm the type of person I need to just like dive into something or I won't do it. So like that's what I was doing with YouTube the past like 2 years. And then every month this month has been like, oh, I'm going to start this month. And then I don't. I'm going to start and then I don't. So sometimes you just have to rip the Band-Aid and like start doing it and kind of live that like delulu that everyone's talking about. Start posting like an influencer. Who cares? If you enjoy the content you're making, then like whether it's being received by 5 people or 500, 5,000, doesn't matter.
Yeah. And I think the second part of this question is like how to gain the confidence to start posting. If you wait until you're absolutely confident to start posting, you're going to be waiting forever because it's not going to confidence is not just going to fall into your lap and you're going to be like, oh, I just woke up today and it's a Friday and all of a sudden I'm confident. Yeah. Now I'm going to make my podcast. Now I'm going to do a YouTube video. Now I'm going to start posting on social media. Confidence isn't something that just falls into your lap. It's something that's built over time. I would never be confident. I would never be where I am right now if it weren't for taking those baby steps earlier. Now I'm able to speak on stage. I'm able to run retreats. I'm able to be very open and vulnerable on YouTube about like the highs and the lows and show up on social media and not care about what people think. I'm only able to do that now because when I started, I was terrified to do all of that.
You had to learn on your way.
I remember when I was like, I decided like, this is the life that I have now is the life that I wanted. I would do 15, 20 takes of Instagram stories, like trying to tell people about my fitness journey.
Oh, I still do that.
And sometimes. I would be like, oh, and I'm telling you, like, that's where I went. Now I pick up the camera. I don't care how I sound. I don't care if I stutter over my words. None of that. Same thing goes with like YouTube and our podcast. We barely cut anything out.
I literally just trim like the beginning and end.
Yeah, we just like trim the beginning and the end. Like, and if we stutter, it's okay because it doesn't need to be perfect.
I feel like that's like a perfect example. Our first episode ever, thank God, did not ever air because something was wrong with it. But I was literally having a panic attack, like the whole episode. Yeah. Like my heart rate was at like 150. I was freaking out. And it was just baby steps, just practice. Like every week we would film, and every week I got a little more comfortable and like got positive feedback, which is always like helpful and like kind of boosts your confidence a little bit. And then now like talking on this podcast is the easiest thing ever.
And look, like it's so true, because if you just look at like the trajectory of how Kendall is moving through her life, she started, let's say you started going all in more on social media. You got comfortable with doing that. She's amazing on social media. She does like reels, she does TikToks and stuff like that. And then we started the podcast, and you started using your voice, and you weren't like holding the camera up or anything. Like, this is proof that it works, taking baby steps, because now you're comfortable enough to do YouTube because you've been speaking on a podcast. Like, we didn't do all of these things at once. It took baby steps in order to like build up like the courage to go and do that. And that's all that it takes. It's like, you need to have the courage to step out there in these small micro baby steps. Yeah. And then eventually it leads to you being more confident to do it. It's not going to just like happen one day.
Yeah. Start with just like photos if that's all you're comfortable doing.
I started with photos, and they didn't even have my face in it.
See? We all start somewhere. Honestly, my old like prep files, I would always cut my head off too.
Mine was like just body, like head cut off in the mirror. Or I would like turn my face, and it would be like hair in front of my face and you couldn't see. And now I don't even care.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
now
even
you'll
care.
Burp and
and I'll just like pull my camera out in the middle of the gym and post.
Also, another thing I want to add, if it just like helps at all, hearing that like sharing more of yourself or being more of yourself is truly like the best route on social media, is like the supporters we have from the podcast are unlike any of the other people that follow me. Like, when they message me, I literally cry, versus like when someone on Instagram who knows me at a surface level messages me, it's just like not that much of like a deep personal connection. So like having a platform where you are more yourself and share more yourself creates those like deeper connections. And that's cool. That's what social media should be. It's like creating that real connection with the people that are following you and choosing to support you.
Very, very true. It's just like the plain and simple answer is that you can't wait to have the confidence to go and do these things. You have to have courage in these moments to go and start. Because if you just wait, it'll never happen.
Well, if you're even asking this question, it clearly means it's something you want to do. So why not just do it?
Yeah. So whoever it is that asked this question, both of these questions, we best be tagged in your stuff when you start posting your content.
Please tag.
We're
going
to be watching.
The next one we have great experience with is how to deal with body dysmorphia coming off of a show.
Yeah. We also did a whole episode on this in our
if you want a deeper answer.
Mindfulness series.
We've done multiple post-show ones where I think we touch on it. And then, we did a full body dysmorphia one, or two at this point. So I would go listen to those. My biggest tips always, first off, is just preparation, like knowing that body dysmorphia post-show is a thing and that like
it could possibly happen.
Almost everyone deals with it. Whether that lasts a long time or is temporary is different for everyone. I think the biggest thing is being prepared post-show with what your training split is going to look like, what your nutrition's going to look like, how you're coming off of the show. If you have no plan, odds are you're going to like poof up a little quicker, not like with body fat, but with like water and salt and all of those things you're manipulating. So make sure you have like a clear set plan of like, this is the steps I'm taking post-show, because that'll help first off. And then I'm always the advocate for just like avoid photos, measurements, check in with your coach, but don't overanalyze your body coming off of a show. Like, you were just at your leanest ever. First off, not healthy, not maintainable. You're gonna gain weight. You know that's going to happen. Exactly.
You should be,
Exactly. So getting in your head about it and obsessing over it and being like, oh my gosh, I don't look the same I did on show day, it happens to the best of us, but just remind yourself that you're returning to a healthy state. And I'm a big advocate for like wearing a bigger hoodie and sweats during that time period, just so I'm not like forced to see the changes. Cause I think seeing the changes is the scary part that can kind of trigger that body dysmorphia.
Definitely. And it's like leading up into your show, you're almost like looking at the mirror obsessively because you're seeing, okay, are we where we need to be? Are the lines where they need to be? So if there's a way that you can just avoid doing that post show, it's going to be the best, because you're already in this habit of like obsessively checking your physique.
Yeah.
And if that carries on to post show, all you're going to do is stand in the mirror and continuously check. So during those times, I just like avoid it, just like blow past the mirror the best I can. Of course, it's easier said than done, but setting up reminders like on the mirror, like, yo, stop body checking. Only check in when you need to do your coach. Don't be weighing yourself every single day obsessively.
I used to weigh myself like multiple times a day post show.
Yeah.
And be like, oh, I drank water and now it's up. It's like,
exactly.
duh.
Yeah, you're like, of course, like food has weight.
Yeah,
water
exactly.
has weight. I'm going to be heavier. So yeah, if you guys want more in depth on that too, go back to that episode.
The other eps. The next one is, how do you balance and prioritize your relationship when you're on prep?
Oh, Jesus.
This one's a good one. I've had significant others in the past that were doing preps at the same time as me. And I almost feel like that was harder because we were both dieting and both like getting really lean. Sometimes you get a little more irritable. And when you're both going through that, it can be really hard. The last 2 preps I did, I was single though, so I can't talk much about it.
Yeah.
You got any tips?
Well, for me, Zach was actually my coach for a while when he coached me to get my IFBB Pro card. And then we decided, we're like, okay, there is no separation between like our relationship and coach. So he didn't know like what hat he was wearing.
Yeah.
And they would just like, and we also work closely together in business too. So it was like business partners, coach,
Yeah.
partner. I'm like, this is
It's like,
too
do I
many.
need you to give me a hug or tell me to go do my cardio?
Yes, like which person are we today? So we decided like the best thing for our relationship was that I find another coach, and it was 100% the best thing for our relationship. But bodybuilding, especially with Zach not doing it anymore, it was difficult for us to do it. For sure. And it's something that I've had to work on each prep because I decided to continue bodybuilding and Zach didn't. So when we were prepping together in 2020 for our summer shredding show and then the Adela, it was kind of nice because we would just like do the same thing every day. But also we were both so tired and exhausted and just like brain dead that we weren't really connecting that much. But at least we were doing the same thing. And like, if he didn't bring home any food, you know, we were just like on the same path and had the same goal and mindset. But when he decided to stop bodybuilding after that year, I was going on prep and he wasn't. So there was like a little bit difficult for me because he could eat whatever he wanted whenever he wanted and I couldn't. So I had to just get used to the fact that my life choices shouldn't affect his life because he didn't choose this. I did. So I can't get mad if he's like eating something that I can't have because it's my choice. You know, he doesn't have to do that.
I feel like especially for like, say the woman who asked this, like if you're going on a prep and your significant other like doesn't even know about bodybuilding or like what a prep entails, I think just educating the people around you in general typically leads to like a better relationship with them throughout your prep, because if they don't know what you're doing or like they don't realize they can't offer you food because you can't have it and that might annoy you, like little things like that, you just need to have those conversations and like communicate about it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not gonna lie, like Zach and I did struggle with this. Like in every prep that I do, I get better and better, because for me, when I'm on prep, I'm already not that lovey-dovey of a person. Like, and Zach is like, he needs like physical touch, words
We're
of
just so
affirmation.
opposite. I find it so funny.
And me, I'm like, pat on the back. I'm like, what up, bruh? Like, love you, man. Bye. You know,
Poor Zach.
So for me, I've had to adopt like a more gentle and loving type of personality.
Yeah.
Because that's how Zach needs to be loved. And during preps, I get worse. I don't really show any physical attention because I don't have the physical energy whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I'm so focused. Sometimes when I get so focused on a goal, I forget anybody else is there. And sometimes I forget he was there. And that's just me being honest about my experience. And it's definitely drove us apart in prep. So he would just be open with me and being like, I feel like I'm alone in this house. And I'm
that makes me so sad.
yeah, and I'm
Poor
like,
Zach.
oh, I'm sorry. You
But
know,
see,
like,
that's
I don't
like
want that.
you as the one in the prep also have to make like certain thoughts and like actions to keep that relationship going because you're, like you said, the one choosing to do this. Like your partner didn't sign up for you to do bodybuilding, you know? So you have to like kind of meet them halfway on a lot of things.
Yeah, and it's just all about communicating too, how you're feeling, because it's hard to like build up the energy to connect with your partner. And like sometimes like we would sit down to talk and he'd be talking, I'd be like, like zoning out.
Yeah.
And Zach loves to talk a lot. So I would just like zone out and he'd be like, I feel like you're not listening to me. And I was just like, I barely have anything left to give you.
Yeah.
So a couple things that I would do is that when I had the energy, I would utilize it the best of my ability. So for me, it was like in the morning, I'd have like the most energy. So I would show him ways that I loved him in the morning, you know, because I knew like, okay,
Set the day up.
I have it now, so I'm going to do it now, you know, even though it was very, you know, challenging. So I'd just like give him a hug. I'd walk upstairs. I'd come like sit on his lap for a second while he was working. Like little things like that really meant a lot to him. So finding the way that he enjoyed being loved was very useful because like that didn't take very much effort for me. It was like going upstairs for a little bit and taking a little break and just like sitting on his lap for a second. He's just like, it makes him feel so loved.
Yeah.
And even though that wouldn't be my first thought of what to do, I would probably just like not do that. But knowing that this little extra act of love is going to make him feel more loved later on, I'll do it. So
compromise.
I've gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
But then also there's the days where I'll just be like, babe, I really don't have it today. But having that communication, saying like, maybe we can like hang out on this kind of day or we can set up this kind of date, you know, because there's only limited things that you can do.
Yeah. It's definitely hard because you can't like go out to eat and stuff like that really at a certain point in prep. Like you can, but it's almost like self-torture. So, but yeah, trying to do like other activities that are like, let's go sit at this like park or whatever, you know?
Yeah. Zach and I will like go on walks with the dogs. We'll go to like the farmer's market and like get, you know, because at the farmer's market, they have like vegetables and they have like prep food that I can eat.
I still need to go to that farmer's market y'all go to.
We'll go there or we'll go and do like a game thing where we just go to an arcade and play games because
that's cute.
Yeah, there's so many other things that we've had to like get creative with on prep because we can't just like go out to eat whenever we want. There's also this game called the Adventure Challenge, and it's a whole book of date ideas.
That's cute.
And you like pick ones and they're all labeled too, where it says like this one's only in the house. This one you have to go drive and buy supplies. This one you'll need like a babysitter. So you can like also pick ones that don't involve food and go and do those date ideas. And it comes with a Polaroid camera and you take a picture of you doing the date.
That's so cute.
It is fun.
Wow.
Yeah, so I bought that for us because I bought it at the beginning of prep because I knew that sometimes it's hard. Like to keep the relationship alive when you're feeling dead.
Yeah.
Basically.
It makes sense. I mean, you're just low energy at a certain point. The next question is, how do you control your stomach on stage? It's so hard.
Yep.
I agree.
Yep.
My biggest tip, I would say, first off, just practice posing. Like practice constantly. Also vacuuming, I feel like has helped me with
vacuuming has like changed everything.
What if you don't know what like stomach vacuuming is?
Stomach vacuums
like, just vacuum the house.
Yeah, just vacuum your house and you'll be better. But stomach vacuum is like when you suck your stomach like up into your ribs. It's almost like when you learn that difficult of a way to control your stomach, you do it. Like I vacuum without even realizing.
I'll be driving.
I'm driving. I'm like, why am I vacuuming my stomach in?
Yep.
Because then when you're on stage, like you have so much better control of your stomach. It's crazy. So if you guys need a tutorial on how to do it, I have one on my Instagram. I have one on YouTube as well. But literally, it's a game changer.
Yeah, I feel like that helped a lot. And then also just like what was I even going to say? Oh, taking like really deep breaths on stage. I feel like sometimes if you're nervous or excited, like you can start to like breathe a little too heavy. I think that happened to me at nationals, and I still think about it, where like I was so not in body that I started like breathing
your
fast, and I
stomach's just going
yes,
in, out,
exactly.
in, out, in, out.
So like really try to center yourself, take deep breaths, especially when it's like your solo posing routine. Like take as much time as you need, like to hold it, squeeze, okay, transition. Like don't feel like you have to rush anything, because that's when I feel like you can start like breathing heavy, and then you can see that in your core.
One thing that my posing coach helped me a lot with my routine this year is matching your breathing to your posing also. Like actually, it's almost like yoga. Like when you're doing yoga and they have you like breathe on certain areas and they have you breathe out on certain areas. Same thing with posing. You can take breaths in certain areas that you know maybe the judges aren't going to see my face taking this breath. And it's so crazy. Like, for example, when I'm in my back pose, huge breath in.
That's what I was thinking.
Breathe out. Then I'm transferring to the front. I turn around and I'm smiling. You can also breathe like through your teeth while you're smiling. And when you're doing your transitions, so just knowing like before I transition into this pose and into like my front pose, I'm breathing in, letting it out. Now I'm in my front pose and smile.
Yeah.
You know, it's like really matching it to where you are at in your posing routine helps so much.
I do that subconsciously, because when you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, like I'll definitely like transitions is when I breathe. And back pose is when I like inhale the most air so that I can make it through like my front poses again. But I think it's just practice over anything. Make sure you're doing like any sort of like core strengthening, or it's going to be a lot harder.
Yeah.
The next question is, what are the pros and cons of starting bodybuilding?
Yeah, we had a ton of bodybuilding questions, and we basically answered all of those in the bodybuilding series. We literally have an episode, the pros and cons of bodybuilding. But yeah, if you guys haven't listened to the like bodybuilding specific series, it's called Bodybuilding Basics. Oh, all of these questions were answered, especially the ones that we didn't get to today. But I would say pros would be like the mental fortitude, the discipline, and doing something that's incredibly difficult and like overcoming it. Those are like the pros, because that transfers into all aspects of your life. It's like, if I could do this, what else can I do?
Yeah. Just to add to that, I think like my biggest pro is like doing something dedicated to yourself. Like I feel like we do so much for other people or for like other things, and dedicating like something like this is a goal for you and you only, and you're going and you're doing it and proving to yourself you can. I feel like that's always my thing every year.
Such a confidence boost when you set out to do something and you freaking just do it.
Yeah.
Now cons.
Cons, I would say it can be, depending on the person, detrimental to like your relationship with food, body dysmorphia, things like that.
Yeah, it can with food, with your mental health too. Potentially struggling with post-show blues, stuff like that after, where you're like, who am I when I'm not a bodybuilder? Like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Potentially rebounding really hard.
Sometimes your relationships with people around you can change too.
They can suffer, like we were talking about in the previous, like you just distance yourself from people, and maybe you struggle in your relationship because it's like something new and you don't know really how to deal with that quite yet. Those are some of the main ones, I would say.
Yeah, there's a lot. So go listen to that other episode. The next one is, the diet part of the show really the hardest part?
I think post-show's the hardest part.
I would agree, but I think post-show diet is the hardest part.
Yes, so that's like kind of answering the same question, but post-show diet I think is the hardest.
I always found during prep my diet was the easiest. Like if you tell me not to eat, like when I'm in prep, I'm like, sure, like I have this goal in my head, I'm fine. I think cardio was harder for me mentally. Like if you were like, would you rather do 3 hours of Stairmaster or eat 0 carbs? I would be like 0 carbs all day.
I'm like, I'll do 3 hours of Stairmaster.
There's no way.
And eat more food. Like, I don't know. Because I'm just used to it by now. Like my preps, typically, my body enjoys having higher amounts of cardio, so I'm just so used to it that I'm just like, whatever.
I would cry probably at least once a week on the Stairmaster.
For me, it was like at a certain point, the training is like second nature. The cardio is like second nature. The diet, I'm eating to fuel my body and to have the best physique. It's not really for enjoyment or anything like that.
You kind of switch it in your brain.
Do.
Yeah.
So then I think the hardest part is post-show.
Yeah, I agree.
Diet, for sure.
Answer.
Yeah, I really think so.
How to deal with seeing other competitors progress while you seem stuck.
Damn.
Don't look at them.
Don't look at them. I had this friend one time when we were getting ready to compete in a show, and she was looking and finding each person that was competing in the same show that she was competing in, and looking at their physiques and judging her physique against theirs. And I was like, this is so bad. And I do that, but in a different way. I don't like outwardly go seek the people that I'm competing against. It's so crazy because even when I was a wrestler and I would go look at my bracket to see who I was competing up against, I would either not go look at it and have someone else tell me where to be, or I would go and just look at where my name needed to be, because it would always have like the other girl on the other side of the bracket. So like I can just focus just on my name, what mat I needed to be at, and go. And for me, I enjoyed going and just showing up and seeing whoever was there, and not having any like preconceived ideas about who was going to be there, what they looked like,
you're like already
how successful they were.
Exactly.
You're already just setting yourself up to have a negative mindset going in. It's like, I'd rather be completely delusional and just show up and give the best that I absolutely can, and whoever's on the other side of that mat or on that stage, whatever. It's crazy. Like I did that at 15, and I still do that now, to where I don't look at anybody.
Yeah.
And
that's a good thing
if I start noticing that I'm doing that, I immediately catch it, and I'm like, you're doing that again.
Yeah.
Remember how that makes you feel. It makes you start feeling like you are never going to reach your goal, that your physique isn't good enough. I feel like I actually did this yesterday. Did I do this yesterday?
Like caught yourself?
Yeah, I caught myself yesterday. Like looking, it was the Explore page. The Explore page always gets you. And I was like, oh my God, look at all these people. They're ginormous. Their muscles are so big. I'm so tiny. I'm never going to get anywhere. I'm a failure. And I was like, wait, Julia, you're doing it again. Stop. So literally, I just mute accounts if I don't want to see it. I don't go and outwardly search for people that I'm comparing myself to. First of all, it's social media. People look so different than they do in real life. Your journey is different than anybody else's. And especially if you're like comparing yourself to people that have been competing for years or have been lifting for years. I used to do that when I first started. I competed. First started competing, I compared myself to the Olympians and was like, oh my God, I'm never going to be there. And it's like, girl, it's your first show. Chill. It's like,
I think we're all guilty of it. And you have to remember, like, bodybuilding specifically is a subjective sport. So whether you think the girl that you're stalking looks better or worse than you or whatever, the judges have their own opinion. So why waste your time even trying to be like, oh, I look better than her? Like, it's not up to you. Just like do your work that you know you need to do. Show up as best as you can. The other girls are going to do the same, and it's up to the judges who wins.
Yeah, everybody that's how it put in just as much work as you do. Worked as just as hard. Everyone deserves to go up there and just like be the best that they absolutely can be. And whatever the judge's decision is, that's the judge's decision. Like we signed up for a sport that is subjective, and some days it's going to be your day. Some days it won't. That's the thing about bodybuilding. You never know who's going to show up. Yeah. You never know who's going to show up.
Just try not to get in that like comparison train where you're obsessing over the other people's progress and not your own.
Just focus on yours. Stay in your lane. Stop going out and looking for people to compare yourself to. If you still want to follow these people, but right now you're struggling with comparison, just mute them for a little bit while they're prepping for their show as well. And trust me, it works. It's going to take a lot of practice and checking yourself and being like, yo, girl, stop doing that. But it works. I still do it.
Yeah, just keep yourself in check. I've done it most of my preps. I'll at least find someone, or I'll look up, like, if I'm 5 weeks out, I literally used to look up like the hashtag 5 weeks out.
Oh my God.
And be like, they're all so much leaner than me. I'm not going to be ready. And it's like, why do we do that to ourselves?
Because we're looking for confirmation for what we're feeling.
Yep.
If we're 5 weeks out and we don't feel 5 weeks out, we're going to go actively look to make ourselves feel like we feel.
Yep.
Confirmation bias.
It's terrible. Yeah, if I did that and I felt great, I probably would have been like, I'm on track and I look good.
Yeah, exactly.
It's whatever you're feeding yourself already. The next one isn't technically a question, but I'm assuming she just wants advice. I have anxiety. What?
I got anxiety.
What a good theme song. I have anxiety about being in a relationship, scared my boyfriend is looking at other girls.
Oh, hell no.
I've been there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just an anxious person in general. So that does trail into a relationship sometimes. And I think you just need to remember, like, you are with this person for a reason. You trust this person. You love this person. If there's reasons not to,
yeah,
that's something you need to address.
There's twofold too. It's that with the trusting people. Mm-hmm. Like, first of all, it's like, do you have that trust in your relationship? Also, did they give you a reason not to trust them? That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah. Because I've had those moments where I'll think something dumb or I'll have a dream. And then I'm like, okay, but my boyfriend has never done anything to make me not trust him. So I know it's in my head.
Exactly.
So I don't project it onto him. I might tell him how I'm feeling and be like, I know I'm crazy right now. Mm-hmm. It's just like my anxiety has nothing to do with you. So like if it is like an actual trust issue or something actually did happen, that needs to be addressed on its own. If it's just like your own irrational fears or anxiety, that's something like usually you have to look internally of like, why am I having this?
That's a little deeper. It usually has something to do with how you actually feel about yourself. Mm-hmm. You know, like if you're making them up out of nowhere, or maybe it was even like a trauma response to you being cheated on in the past, or maybe someone being unfaithful. I totally get that, because these things start going over into other relationships to where your past relationships start defining your new relationships, and you start like not trusting the person that you're with because of an ex who did you dirty in the past, and that's not your current boyfriend's fault. Unless he gives you a reason to not trust him.
If they give you a reason, that's a whole other story. But if it's your own anxiety, like, also don't feel like if something happened in the past and you have this like internal battle or anxiety or trust issues, that doesn't mean you don't deserve another relationship. Like, don't hold yourself back just because that's what you're dealing with. I think just having open communication. Like, I've straight up told my current boyfriend, like, hey, I got treated really terribly in a past relationship. So sometimes these things come up. Yeah. And like, I just want to talk about them. It doesn't mean I'm blaming you. It doesn't mean I'm coming at you. Like, if I don't voice them, I'm going to get anxious.
I'm going to make up stuff in my head.
So I rather just voice like, hey, this is how I'm feeling right now.
A dream that I had turns into a reality, and now all of a sudden you have another family in Europe. And you go visit them and you have kids and you're married. You know, it's like
it's irrational, but you need to bring it up anyway, because if you don't, then you're like going to fester on those thoughts and like assume something is true, and it's like it's not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But also, girls are super intuitive, and sometimes when you are having like a feeling about somebody who is, you know, not being truthful or faithful or not in integrity, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes you know. Yeah. But then also, like, if there isn't any of that and you're just like worried about him thinking other girls are pretty, and like, there's so many pretty people in the world. Like, Zach probably thinks there's a bunch of other girls that are pretty, but
he better not. No, I'm kidding.
He chooses me.
Yeah.
There's guys that I know that are attractive, but I choose Zach because I think he's the most attractive.
That's how relationships are. Like, that's the person you're choosing to love, and you should trust and know that love is being received back to you.
I mean, C-Bum knows that I love him, but I choose Zach.
But does Courtney stay awake at night and
C-Bum
and think of Julia?
If I ever meet C-Bum one day, he's gonna he has no idea I'm talking about him. He can care less. But I'm gonna be like, I'll even see C-Bum, and
maybe let's not let you go to the Olympia alone.
I'm like, Zach, it's C-Bum, and he's like, oh my God, shut up. But that's the thing. It's like, you choose that person. Yeah. I chose you. You're my person.
I think like tackle it in therapy if this is like irrational feelings too. Like talk to other people other than just your relationship about like why you're maybe having these thoughts. Next, last question, actually. Oops, I just closed it. How to handle cravings on your menstrual cycle. Oh my God, this is me today. I'm on my period and I had 5 cookies last night. So I did not do a great job.
Dope.
Typically for me, I know, and this wasn't my whole life. This is like recently when my cycle is coming up, I start craving chocolate a lot.
Same.
And I used to hate chocolate. So I don't know where this came from.
Which is crazy because when I did my YouTube video, I also have a YouTube video and we have a podcast on training like with your menstrual cycle and stuff like that. And when I was doing research for that episode, there was actually like a study about why women want chocolate during...
Is it your iron? I wonder.
I think it had something to do with that. But they also just like polled a bunch of women of like what they want the most, and it was chocolate.
Yeah.
And I don't honestly remember why. That was such a long time ago. I feel like, ooh, my abs are abbing today.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyways.
So for me, I know if it's like the week before and I'm starting to get those cravings, I'll buy things like chocolate rice cakes and like, what are they called? Just like the really low calorie, like chocolate fudge, like ice cream bars, like things like that, where I could have one and it'll curb that craving instead of like waiting until the last minute, like I did last night, and then eating cookies. Yeah. Granted, they were like gluten-free, dairy-free, like healthy cookies, but still, then those are like, when I give in like that, it's like, oh, now I'm beating myself up and all of these things, which you shouldn't anyway. But tackling the craving up front when you're having it instead of just like prolonging it and hoping it goes away is usually the best bet.
Yeah, it's true. And like, obviously not obviously because people do this all the time, but like give yourself grace because sometimes you're going to eat something that's off plan and that's okay. Like our bodies are going through so much when we're on our period. Like it's insane that we have to do this every single month. And guys just walk around like... all fine and dandy.
I used to like power through my period and like not talk about it, not pay attention to it. I think because I had so much like masculine energy growing up in my household that like I never even talked to my mom about it. Like I told her when I got it, she got me what I needed. That was it. Like we never had a conversation.
We never spoke again.
And now I'm the type of girl where I'm like, my period's coming. I'm going to buy myself some ice cream and I'm going to get a heating pad and like just live in it for a day or two and like it'll go away and then I'm back on track.
Yeah. And one thing that I found too is like along the lines of what you're saying about finding like healthier alternatives. Sometimes those healthier alternatives will work and sometimes they might not. But like when you are craving something that's chocolatey, starting with something that is chocolatey, that it's like healthier, sometimes actually does work. Like eating the chocolate rice cakes. Like for me, there's like this ice cream place that's like right by our house, and it's like lower calorie ice cream, and they have a chocolate version, and it's insane. Like the calories are crazy low for it.
Exactly. Like the bars I get are like 60 calories, and you're like, sick. I can have one or two.
And it actually helps versus like me going straight to like a whole pint of Ben and Jerry's. I'll start with that, and then if eventually like it goes to that level where I want to get the Ben and Jerry's, then I'll do that. But I always start with like other options first. So I think having some of your go-to, like I'm on my period, like here's the things, if I have this craving, the craving, I'm gonna go for those instead of going straight from like 0 to 100. But if it does end up going to 100, give yourself grace.
Yeah.
It does.
Your body's going through a lot.
You're going through a lot and you don't have to be perfect.
Anyway, is that all?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all.
That's all I got.
Yeah.
There's a little note at the end. We got a lot of questions about being like a fitness influencer or like being a social media presence.
Yeah.
If you guys want a series on that or like more in depth on that, we could probably do like easily an episode or two just on like growing social media, getting partnerships, like all of that. So
yeah, I feel like there was a lot of questions about that. We only answered like 2 of them, but if that's like an actual series that you want us to do when we dive into like how we grew, how these things work, any like tips that we have, like let us know because we want your feedback.
I also love answering questions.
Kendall loves answering questions.
Anyway, that is all we have for you. We love you all so much. And remember, you are more powerful than you think.
Bye.
Bye.